YouTube, W&J's Handy Dad here, and today we are looking at the Harbor Freight paint gun that I used. Now, like I said in the last video where I was showing you painting the cars, got these for about $10 with coupons, so it was a really good deal. But if you remember in the video, I was getting a drip. Basically every pass of the gun, I get a drip out of it, and I couldn't tell. I thought it might be coming from here, but it's actually coming from up in there. So I have two paint guns. This is the one that I actually used. This one is a brand new one. And as you see, it's leaking. And it's in the same spot. It's actually coming from inside of here and dripping down. So when you're painting, for example, if I spray, you see how it's dripping. So if I'm painting, it's dripping all over my work like that. So what I had done is I put a paper towel around here thinking I was catching it. Actually, since it's coming out of this area, it needs something under here to catch it. So that anyway, so I looked all over the internet to see if I could find what's causing that and how to fix it. And unfortunately, everything I found on the internet was talking about drips, as far as if you put too much paint then it starts to run and gives you kind of a drip. Well, that's not the problem here. I mean, you could barely put any paint down and you're getting these drips. And there was some suggestion that maybe turning this would affect it. So I did sit there and adjust this to see. And as you see, it's still dripping when I turn that. But like I said, it's coming from inside of there where the pin comes through. It just doesn't make a good enough seal. And so when your paint comes down here, some of it goes this way and drips, and the rest gets sprayed out. So I wanted to show you how to disassemble this gun and clean this gun. Obviously this part's pretty straightforward. That just screws onto the top there. Front unscrews. This piece, they don't give you a tool to remove. However, they say that you need to remove it before using your gun. So as you can see, I scuffed it up really good trying different tools. What I ended up finding that worked well enough to get that off of there was a 13/16 wrench. So let me demonstrate that. And so I did try different size wrenches, hoping that I'd have one, because this doesn't look like it fits, but it seems to work. I tried other sizes, including metrics, and I couldn't find one that fit snug. I've seen people say 19mm on the internet. I even tried a 20 and it was too small, so I don't know if they've changed the size of this or what, but you see the 13/16 removed that. And just keep your reference points that it's going to be the black washer, and the white washer actually attaches onto here, and then that threads in. So in there is where it's leaking from, between this pin and that copper screw, for lack of a better term. So I'm going to undo this just to show you when you're cleaning the gun for the first time as well as after each job. You got a spring, and then that pin goes through there. Okay, so you would clean this in your lacquer thinner. But inside of there, you can turn that with a flat screwdriver. So I've gotten in there, cranked it down really snug, plus about a half a turn. I could probably continue to torque it down, but from what I've read online, if you get that too tight, then you have the opposite problem of the needle not moving. I don't know if that's true on this gun, that's just from what I saw about other guns. So we're going to put this back together and see if it leaks now. So you take the white ring and it actually fits onto here. And it's one of those things where it's not real snug and it seems to get looser basically the first time you use the gun, and then probably progressively thereafter. Now, I'm not immediately going to go paint something, so don't freak out the fact that there's water on here. I'm just using this to demonstrate the leak. If you were going to paint, you want to make sure that you've got some lacquer thinner or alcohol in here and cleaned this and dried it up. And you have this, there's a hole in this piece where my thumb is that you got to get it through to line it up. Now the pin is not wanting to go through, so that tells me that that leak is because of that screw, and I've got the screw too tight, so I'm going to back it off a little bit and see if the pin will go through. Okay, so now the pin is going through, so that's probably correct. And so it ended up being about a quarter turn past real snug. So put this back together now and see what we've got. Again, I find you put that white ring on there first, and take your black washer, drop it in there, it lines up on that hole, hold it in place, and then just thread that on by hand. And snug it up with your wrench. Pin that through there and turn that with your thumbs and then hold it in place so that it goes through this pin. You see, you don't want it to be on top of the pin or underneath the pin. It's got to go right through. And see, that feels nice and snug. And you put your spring on there. And probably the trickiest part is getting this started. The spring, that started, and I find it's easier to eyeball it to see that it's straight and not crooked, because if you get it a little bit crooked and started, you'll just strip the threads, and these are not really strong threads, so they will love to strip on you. And then once you get it started, obviously just twist it on the setting you think you're going to use. You can kind of feel on here, it'll start limiting the travel of the trigger. So just back it off to the area that you think, and then you can tighten up the lock nut. And remember, this is our pattern adjust. If we want it up and down or more rounded, turning it all the way this way is going to give us more of a circle pattern. Turning it this way is going to give us either up and down or side to side, depending on which way you orient this. And here's your airflow. I recommend putting the pressure regulator on here. It makes it a lot easier for you to regulate than trying to guess with this. Put this back on. So I typically like the paint to be oriented straight up and down rather than cross, so I'm going to orient that this way. And just basically finger tighten it. Normally, you want to make sure you got some Teflon tape on there. Since we're just doing this as a water drip test, I'm not too worried about putting a fresh coat of Teflon on there. I will go fill this up and we'll see if we're getting any more drip out of there. So why they don't mention adjusting that screw in the owner's manual, I don't know. It's kind of frustrating, especially someone like me that's not a professional painter and hasn't used these type of paint guns, you know, in training and everything, you would think they would let you know that you might have a drip there if that screw is not tightened properly. So, spray. Water's coming out where it's supposed to. The glove is staying dry under here. Hopefully you can see in there, there's just still a little annoying drop of water forming there. Certainly not as bad as what you saw before when it was just pouring out. So it's probably just a matter of getting that screw tightened just perfectly. And since that takes a lot of trial and error to get it, you got to have the front end of the gun off and turn the screw and push the pin in, but then you're not going to be able to check for leaks until you totally reassemble it. See, it's just a little bit of a drip with water. Now, paint may not come out like that because paint's obviously thicker than the water, but to me that's a bad design if it leaks out of there that easily. Seems like they could have changed the design ever so slightly to fix that problem. So here's gun number 2 after tightening that screw, and basically what I did is I got it torqued down and then just barely loose enough for the pin to be almost forced through, and it seems to not be leaking. And now you know how to make this basically a better paint gun without any extra tools, just a screwdriver and a wrench. The reason the 13/16 is the only size that seems to work on here, even though these lines are probably the 19mm that folks are talking about online, is the way they've designed this. It requires a wrench that's just that skinny, and obviously most of wrenches are a lot thicker than that. So the 13/16 is able to go over this rounded hump here and still kind of grab onto here. Pretty certain most of this stripping is from me trying to use like a pliers on here and not the actual box wrench. So don't be discouraged by seeing all this tearing up. I was basically cranking on it with the pliers trying to figure out how to get this thing apart originally. Yeah, I'm glad that I figured that out, because I'm really looking forward to improving the paint jobs on my cars. You know, it's one of those things when you have these old police cars, you don't want to spend a bunch of money having them painted professionally, because you're not going to get your money out if you do end up selling them. But for $50 or $100 worth of paint, a $10 paint gun, and a little bit of your time, you can get them looking brand new. So I don't know, I'm excited. So if you're having the problem of it leaking air, it's actually down here that's your problem. I was thinking it had something to do with the spring in here, but it's actually in here. See, yeah, there's a spring in there. I'm wondering if in my aggressive cleaning I may have washed out grease that's supposed to be in there to help that move. So I'm going to hit that with a little bit of oil and see if that fixes that. So you see here, 13mm, loosen that up. You see there's a spring in there, and that's what controls the airflow. So if that's not springing back, then it's not going to shut off the airflow. So what I did, I sprayed some silicone lubricant into there, and it's gone from leaking air constantly now to there's just a teeny tiny trickle. So I imagine as that lubricant works its way through there, it'll probably fix itself. I'm going to keep working it, but like I said, it was leaking at least that much air before, and now it's shutting itself off for the most part. So anyway, that's how you fix that if you're getting just an air leak. So yeah, that's all it took. So we tightened up the screw on the inside a little bit, not a whole lot. That stopped the leak from here, and a little silicone spray inside of here and on the outside of here, and that's stopped it from leaking. So now we're back in business. Anyway, hope the video was helpful. Appreciate a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and please tell your friends about my channel. Thank you very much.